Hello, everyone. This is Enlightened Living with Scorpio and Aquarius here discussing
Chemtrails.
chemtrails. Dun dun dun. I'll let you start.
So this chemtrail thing is something that a lot of people have been discussing over the years, and what it comes down to is when you're seeing these planes flying through the sky, they leave off quote unquote vapor, and like that's what they said. It is no nefarious plan. There's no repercussions. No nothing, and they even hire now experts to show people that there's no real issue. But what the thing is, like, people know that there's an issue, and we've even seen issues ourselves, and it's like, and you can't find it on the internet because the internet literally.
Well, I feel like you were able to at a point, but I maybe a few years or more ago, but we just were looking now, and like you literally anything that comes up is like a debunking chemtrails thing if you search on the internet. I think the best way to do more research, you'd probably just have to look at people's videos and stuff they put up on YouTube, like of actual scientists that talk about chemtrails and like what they do to the environment, because that does exist. Actual, scientists have done research on chemtrails and what their effect on the negative effects on the environment over the past 20 years or so. So it is a real thing. I know the internet's trying to end the media internet. If you actually look into it, will immediately have like a backlash debunk thing going on to try to get people to get it out of their head really quickly so you don't think about it. But it is a real thing. But
Yeah, it's like it's all over the place. Like literally, it's like they try to scapegoat it really quickly, and they're like, "Oh, it's because of global warming. Oh, it's because of air pollution. Oh, it's because of this, that, or another." It's like, "Oh, we have people that are proving these things, just like autism. How can you guys ever say because there's so much evidence that we created that prove otherwise?" But it's like, but when you really look into these things, don't go onto like YouTube and like look for like some popular person or some celebrity being like, "Yeah, let me talk to you about chemtrails," or whatever, because they're gonna just give you what they're told to tell you, or like what they've bought into already.
don't
Look
do it.
for the real people talking about the issues.
Yeah.
It's like there's people that are gonna like look at both sides and like really look at finding the finite details, like, and think for yourself. Think critically. Don't just let some expert that you are believing, like NASA or anything like that, just to tell you how you should think about things. Literally think about it and see like what it was really going on.
If you are so inclined, because some people literally do
Yeah, they
not
just don't
care
care.
what's going on around them in the world. And the thing is, we've come to a point where we don't. It's not like we care. We're like, oh my gosh, chemtrails. Like we know what's going on. I think the best thing about any kind of thing like this, like chemtrails or how the food is being like tampered with and whatnot, you have to be aware of it so you can take steps for your own body and system and your people around you, maybe your family and whatnot. Um, to remain healthy and conscious in this ever world that's ever it's becoming more and more a place where you can easily become unconscious, right?
Yeah.
Become a sleepwalker. All right, so but yeah, if you are so inclined, do the real research. But I wanted to talk about our experience with chemtrails and how we watched it and just how we've seen it looks like the environment responds to it. It's kind of interesting, just our observations. And I think if I can find a couple of videos that hopefully will lead people in a real truth direction of what chemtrails are, I'll put them in the description box in the video. But so do you want to talk first?
So one of the big things we noticed early on was when there was like a nice sunny weekend or like leading into like a holiday of some sort, their trails were literally everywhere.
So can I do my
Yeah, yeah.
real quick? So I actually hadn't even really heard of chemtrails until probably was it I think it was 2016, I think. So that was like almost 4 years ago. Someone mentioned it to me, and I was like, "Chemtrails, what is that?" And then that's when you start like paying attention to the sky, because I think it was right around that time too that we realized that the Earth was not a spinning sphere. It was spinning in space, spinning around 1,000 miles and all that kind of stuff. We realized that, but all that wasn't true either. But you start looking at the sky and observing the sky more, like really looking, and then I did start to see, yeah, there's these planes that like leave these long trails of cloud that stay in the sky for like all day long. And so I would start to track them back then. And yeah, we noticed that it was like on weekends, like Friday, Thursday, or Friday, they would start. Sometimes on Saturdays, but they're just all over the sky. The sky would be peppered. I call it peppered with these chemtrails. Like literally, they'd start early in the morning and they would just keep going with them. And they would seem like they'd mostly go in the line where the sun was. That would be like where they would put them mostly, like directly where the sun was. And they would just go all weekends, and anytime there was a holiday or some big event in town is when I would notice them come up the most.
Yeah, and it's like, and the thing that's interesting too of it is just like a normal weekend. Like there was no holiday or like extended weekend or anything like that. There wasn't that many, but there'd still be a decent amount of them over the weekend. So it's like,
Yeah, and there were some weekends where there, yeah, like you said, there wasn't really as many. It was mainly when there was big events. Um, I never saw them as much during the week, but definitely they would more up on the weekends, and then when there was big events going on in the city.
yeah, big events. Even if it's like Wednesday, if it's in the middle of the city, like during the summer or something, these trails were everywhere. Because then everyone was operating, they just jump to like, well, there's people traveling, so there's gonna be more, airplanes. That's why it's like, no, no, no.
These aren't regular airplanes, you guys. They're not airplanes.
Yeah, it's like because there's lots of people traveling all the time, especially like when we're living near Atlanta. It's like international airport, or there's the place is booked all the time. Like,
Yeah, you can see an airplane flying, and it doesn't leave a trail behind it. And these little jets that fly leave these long trails that stay up all day long. So it's like there's some, like if you use your like thinking ability, you can clearly see that there's a difference here, and then you can dig a little further and maybe try to figure out why that difference is there. But so what I noticed, so yeah, it was mostly holidays, weekends. Um, Another thing I noticed too was how the Earth seemed to respond, and I don't know if it was. I still don't know exactly how this was, but it'd be like a clear sky, and then we'd see chemtrails start being peppered up, and like they'd be heavily peppered, and then the sky would get kind of this hazy mist throughout the sky, and then but maybe by the next day the cloud layer was quite a bit thicker, and then it would get super windy, and it would either storm or rain, or it would just get really windy and blow all the clouds off, and then usually by the beginning of the week the sky was clear again. So in this, almost every time I've seen this, except for in places where it's more cloudy normally, I've seen the response pretty much the same. It's like it either gets really windy, real clouds seem to come in and like fill up the sky, and it rains or something along those lines, and it clears everything. So I don't know if it's like the Earth itself sensing it and trying to clear it away, or if those stimulate it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's very interesting what happens there, and then as we've kind of got to more where our systems have become more cleaner, and like it seems like we can detect chemicals a lot more efficiently. I've definitely noticed that those weekends or holidays when they do pepper the skies, and if we are outside, I can tell that there's chemicals in the air. Like
we'll start like having irritations in our nose. Sometimes start sneezing, and I'll even notice like other people that weren't sneezing like the day or two before, like they'll start sneezing and stuff more often, or like itching their nose, or like your eyes will get a little bit irritated. Your skin will be a little bit itchy.
Yeah, definitely. My scalp gets itchy. My nasal passages get kind of tingly. My eyes get really dry. And I feel almost like there's this weird, not film in my mouth, but like my mouth feels kind of like almost like cotton mouth a little bit. And it's literally lines up right with those days or weekends when they heavily sprayed the skies. So there's that. Go ahead.
And another one that we kind of noticed that happens occasionally is like if they do like a heavy amount of chemtrails, it'll keep the area it's almost like microwaves the area or something like that, because everything ends up like, because we were camping one time over the weekend, and it was really cold at night for 2 days. Then it was coming into a holiday weekend, and then there was trails everywhere, and then that night it was so incredibly hot, uncomfortably warm. I was like, what is going on? And then we was like, well, didn't really think too much of it, but then we started to notice it was a bit of a pattern. It's like it happened pretty frequently. It could be like almost freezing, and then they pepper the sky and then makes it really warm. But then people would be like, oh, okay, well, it's great because they're making it warm for when it's nighttime. No, 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 no. This is not a good thing. This is not a normal sensation. And it was not like, oh, this feels nice. It's more like, ooh, this feels disgusting. This feels uncomfortable.
Yeah, so it definitely has the effect of heating the environment
And keeping it heated.
and keeping it heated at least for a few days or so until the wind and the rain and clouds come and blow it all away. It pretty much stays at least a good, I would say, 10 to 15 degrees warmer, if not even a little bit more, until it all blows away. And so obviously you can imagine what that does to, the weather patterns and like the animals and the plants that live in the environment. Like that's, But yeah, definitely that's another good thing you brought that one up, because that one I didn't actually notice at first when we were first picking these up a few years ago. It was like recently, so when we've lived to more colder areas, and we've been kind of tracking the effects of the chemtrails a little bit more. And yeah, it was like that one time we were camping when we really noticed it. I'm like, all right, because I was like, okay, so the sky is clear this whole week, and we felt good. The air felt good. It was clean. It was like very interesting. Then they sprayed, and all those effects of the irritation of the skin irritation and nasal patches and all that. And then also we noticed, hey, and it's also quite a bit warmer too. That's interesting. And then from then on out, paying more attention, I could really tell that every time that they sprayed heavily, especially, it gets quite a bit warmer.
And another thing, when I was in the military, I was at a training base for jets. So it's like when people are like, oh, there's more jets. It's like I was at a training base where they literally all day long, jets taking off, landing, flying all over the place. And guess what? The sky was perfectly clear all the time.
Oh, so you're
in
saying
Arizona.
The jets didn't leave any trails behind them?
Exactly. No vapor trails. Interesting. Even when we had other commercial style jets that, like, for traveling and stuff like that, landing on our base, still nothing. So it's like, something to think about.
And obviously, if you actually do the research and like really look into this, you'll see that these chemtrails, they're called chemical trails because it's a mixture of chemicals and different types of metals and that they blow out at the end of these jets. That's why it sits in the air like that, and it doesn't disperse, because it's not just vapor. It's not just vapor from a engine. It's actual like chemicals that they're spraying into the sky. Hence the name chemtrails, right?
Exactly, because vapors would actually dissipate very, very quickly. They would not stay for hours and hours and hours. They'd be like, you'd see the trail for like maybe at the most a minute if they put out a lot of vapor, and then it'd be gone. But these things stay out all day. All right. Anything you'd like to add on that one?
I think just
maybe.
How about maybe that's a child in the background. How about if you're so inclined, really do the research. Otherwise, if it just doesn't if it's not important to you, then I mean, obviously it's not important. But to those that it is a little bit important, like I said, the main thing is being aware of what's going on in our environment, in our world. If you're not aware of something, you can't. Even being consciously aware of it can make a change of how it affects you and people around you and whatnot. And even how the future will go with it. But if you just keep your head in the sand about it, then it'll keep continuing as it is for the most part.
Yeah, it's like if you're not aware, there's nothing you can do. It's like if you are aware, at the minimum, you can take care of yourself, and when those times you need to do more self-care, and you can grow from it instead of having it do whatever. Who knows what it's actually doing? But yeah. Be mindful.
Well, I would say real quickly that of the actual research that was done on the chemicals they spray in these chemtrails, it actually is linked to many chronic diseases that people, like Alzheimer's, a lot of autoimmune diseases, issues with plants growing in the environment. Obviously, we know now that possibly even some of the weather issues that have been going on. But yeah. And more.
Yeah, and more. All right, everybody. That about wraps it up.
All right. Peace.